My name is Sandra Milligan. I am a university biology instructor at North Island College, and I am president of Greenways Land Trust. Today I'm going to be reading from Fisherman's Fall, Part 5, Chapter 1, which is Acquisition. I chose this piece in the spirit of the Art and Earth Festival because it's a wonderful story about a recreation of a piece of nature in a home environment. And like art, this little piece of nature can give us so much joy and peace by the simple act of just sitting and observing it. One morning at breakfast some 2 years ago, I saw an advertisement for complete aquarium kits at what seemed a remarkably low price. In an unguarded moment, I showed it my wife. "That's something I should have done years ago," I said. "What?" she asked. "Get one of those things." "What on earth for?" "To watch things." "Goldfish, you mean?" she asked. "What do you care about goldfish?" No, I said impatiently. "Things from the creeks and the river. Anything and everything. You could set up a whole natural ecology and keep track of it." "Do you really think you could?" I admitted I wasn't sure, but failed to add that I hadn't the slightest intention of trying. It was just one of those many things one really ought to do, if there weren't so many other things to do. Things that sound fine in the distant talking stage, but would probably seem far less simple if one were actually faced with them. I wasn't faced with this and promptly forgot the idea, as I had several times before. One morning, about a month later, Christmas morning to be exact, I opened a very large package and uncovered by slow degrees an aquarium set, complete in every detail as the paper had promised. I was, if I may use a phrase that had never before seemed to mean very much, taken aback. "My heavens," I said, "I didn't really mean I wanted one." I was wrong about that and quickly proved it. By mid-afternoon, I had covered the bottom of the tank with fine river gravel, set in some cobble-sized rocks, planted some river moss, and filled the whole thing with river water. I set up the filter and hooked up the pump. Then I introduced some caddis larvae and snails, which were the easiest things to catch. This by itself seemed to me and my family a spectacular show. My first introductions were cautious and conservative. I tried one or two prickly sculpins, but didn't care much for their large heads and rather aggressive manners, so I settled in the end for 2 Aleutian sculpins, still bullheads in common language, but somewhat more slender and delicate, with small heads, slate blue bodies, and unspotted dorsal fins. These are the bottom dwellers in every British Columbia stream I know, so I felt their introduction was the proper step in setting up an authentic natural habitat. Well, it would also show whether the aquarium, or I, was capable of keeping fish alive at all. In everyday life, I'm not a great admirer of sculpins. They're not the most handsome or impressive of fishes, and I have long been satisfied that they are particularly deadly predators in trout and salmon streams. But it is rather different when you have 2 of your own. My sculpins were quite small, the larger about 2.5 inches long, the smaller less than 2. Having no swim bladders, they remained on the bottom most of the time, but every so often they seemed to feel the need of exercise, and then they would swim the full length of the tank, back and forth in beautiful fading curves that took them almost to the surface and gracefully down again. On the bottom, they were extremely alert and efficient, hunting constantly for small caddis or anything else that moved. Their color changes were really impressive. When I first turned them into the tank, they were pale, almost sandy, and with little variation from head to tail. I knew that this paleness was a natural reaction of many fish, including trout, to fear or strange surroundings, in large measure a protective reaction. I soon realized it was also a resting reaction in my bullheads. When hunting or on the aggressive, their color darkened through its natural slate blue, almost black, and strong white bars showed up. They hunted with quick movements from place to place, stopping to look for any sign of life on the bottom. If a small caddis moved in front of them, their interest was immediately obvious. Usually they perched up on stiffened ventral fins that looked like little legs and cocked their heads downwards or sideways to follow the movement. Often they adjusted their position 2 or 3 times. Then they pounced upon the unfortunate caddis, stirring up silt from the bottom in the violence of their movement, and running away from the scene to finish the job of swallowing it. All this impressed me a good deal when I thought of the thousands upon thousands of sculpins, like mine and usually much larger, on every river bottom. I thought of their effectiveness as defenseless salmon and trout alevins worked their way up to the surface of the gravel after hatching, and I felt some gratitude and obligation to the mergansers who hunt the river bottoms for sculpins through 12 months of every year. But I did not like my own sculpins the less for that. They were endearingly bold little creatures and would play like kittens with a small dry fly that I danced along the outside of the tank. They fed, took their exercise, and rested. Sometimes they perched like little birds on the weeds, ventral fins stiff, bodies curved for balance. Above all, they lived, and gave me reason to hope that still more interesting types of fish might survive in my aquarium and under my clumsy ministrations.